So we will start. In the last lecture, we had introduction of what is modeling, what is physiological modeling, why do you need this modeling, what are the different ways to classify this modeling, and we ended the last lecture with one example. So have you tried to solve that example?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So what is your conclusion? What is the result?
1.3 liter.
Liters for
1 point.
statistic.
Okay. Okay, fine. So this was a simple example of a modeling or a way of modeling. So let us start our today's topic, that is sampling. So now, why sampling? What is the relation? What is the link between sampling and the model? So when you want to design a good model, ultimately your model is based on your data. So basically, your development, I mean, how you can design an accurate model. So it will depend on the data which you collect or the data which you use for the model. Now there are many considerations in this in developing a sound model. So one of the consideration is the data. If data is not good or it doesn't represent the complete population or the full population for application, can it be used? Or will it, if it doesn't represent the population, will it be fit or will it be suitable for that particular application or for that particular model, or will it represent, will your developed model represent that population truly? Definitely no. So that's why the sampling is most important, and this is the first step for the data models. So when we will do the sampling correctly, we can lower the cost to obtain the data needed for the model development. So again, it can turn we can design a sound or a good model when we will apply a good sampling methodology. So this is the link why you want to why we are studying this topic as first topic for this course. Let us move ahead. Now, what is sampling? When field studies are undertaken in practical, we will consider time and cost, right? Like, for example, say time and cost, almost like there are variabilities for selection. That is selection of a few of its atom. For example, one example I want to use here is, say I want to test the water meters for Pune city, for a complete area of the Pune. Okay, Pune city, it should cover not only residential but industrial area of Pune also, right? So your aim is, I want to find out percentage of faulty water meters in the Pune city. This is the problem statement, or this is the aim which is given to you. Now for this problem statement, will you go and like meet and check each and every water meter? Will you go and check each and every water meter from
No, ma'am.
residential?
We will take samples from some parts.
Yes. So you will take samples from some parts. Now, broadly, how will you categorize this Pune city? If geographical, or if location wise, or if population wise, if you want to if you will ask me, I'll categorize the city into two parts. One is industrial and one is residential. So now in industrial area, population is less. Population of the water meter is less, whereas in the residential area, population of the water meter is more. Okay, so now how you will choose, how you should select, or you are saying that you will select the samples. Now how you will select the samples based on this population? Will you go by area wise or will you go by population wise? Because there is a difference. Like in residential area, meters, density of the meters, water meters is more, whereas in industrial area, density of the water meters is less. So obviously, for less density, you will choose less meters. For more density, you will choose more meters, right? So in this case, what logic you will use is proportion. Will you go geographical point of view? Say for this 1 kilometer circumference, I'll choose. Will you go by graphical ways? Some noise is coming. Oh, will you please mute yourself? You can unmute yourself when only when needed. Okay. Again. Yeah. So come back to the example. So this is the sampling. The respondent selected should be as representative of the total population as possible in order to produce a miniature cross-section. And the selected respondents constitute what is technically called a sample. And the selection process is called as the sampling technique. So what are the implications of a sample design? Sample design is a definite plan, like we plan to obtain a sample from a given population. Likewise, for previous example, you had a plan that you will divide your area or your population into two main types, and based on the population, you will select the samples. If referred to the technique or the procedure, I mean, in this lecture, we are going to study what are the techniques and how you can select the samples. So these are called as a sample designs. So if we are referring to the technique or procedure, the researcher would adopt in selecting atoms for the sample. That's why the sample design may as well lay down the number of atoms to be included in the sample, that is the size of the sample. Sample design is determined before data are collected. Obviously, your plan should be ready first, how you should sample it, and then you should select the data. So there are many sample designs from which a researcher can choose. Some designs are relatively more precise and easier to apply than others. Researchers must select or prepare a sample design which should be reliable and appropriate for his research study. So these are the steps in sample design. The very first step is you have to understand first or nature or what is the type of the universe for which you are going to apply the sampling concept. Then you need to design or you need to understand the sampling unit. What are the sources which are available? From that, you can calculate the size of the samples. You can design the methodology. You can decide the methodology. And from that, you can calculate the size of the samples. And then you can decide what are the parameters of interest. And once you know this is what is the cost of each constraint, so you know this is what is the cost of each sample size and all, then you can design or you can go for the budgetary calculations and define the budgetary constraints. And this is how you define your sampling procedures. These are the steps. This is the criteria for selecting the sampling procedure. These are this inappropriate sampling frame. It should be defective measuring device. Should not be should not be there. Non-respondents. These are the few assumptions or the criterias you should consider while selecting your sampling procedure. Then indeterminacy principles. We are going to see all these things. Natural bias in reporting of the data. So these are the characteristics of a good sample design. A sample design must result in a truly representative sample. This is a very basic and first characteristics. The sample design must be such a that can result in a small sampling error. There should not be a big sampling error. Sample design must be viable in the context of funds available for research study. So that's why the budgetary constraint was there. Must be such that in sampling, the characteristics systematic bias can characteristics required for system. Sample should be such that you have municipal corporations, that kind of a city. So that model or that methodology should work for municipal. Develop the methodology. It can be used for the similar kind of a platform or for similar kind of an applications. These are the different types of sample design. Probabilistic sampling, non-probability sampling, probability sampling and non-probability sampling. This is another is a simple, this is a simple and random sampling, or haphazard sampling or convenience sampling, complex random sampling or purposive sampling, and unrestricted and restricted sampling. So these are different types of sample designs. These are the different ways by which we can design the sampling. So we'll see with example, with one example, how you can select a sample, how to select a random sample. So this is the first step. We call it as a systematic sampling. Let us take an example, the same example. Like I have asked you, or our aim is to find out what a percentage of the faulty water meters in Pune city. So the methodology we are going to design or we are going to use is, we are going to divide the city into two main population criteria, that is residential and the industrial. And then you will see what is the, then you will see what is the population, and then based on that population you will select the sample. Now how you can, this is what you have think, this is the logic we have designed. So now how we are going to represent this logic into mathematics? Just correlate and see. This is the most practical way of sampling. Systematic sampling is to select every ith atom on the list. say I have a list. I have a list of meters, water meters, and out from that list, I just select ith atom. Okay. So first element is selected randomly, maybe first, second, third, any, and remaining by the systematic way. For example, we are working for a residential area of a population of say 5,000. And after all calculations, we want to select 50 meters from that 5,000 population. And we will physically go and check that 50 meters. So for the systematic sampling, we have a list of 5,000. So we will choose first sample as a random one. Say first, second, third, any. Say I'll choose 10th sample as a random one. And then as I want to pick 50 meters from a population of the 5,000. So what will be my I? I want to select total 50 meters from the population of the 5,000. So what will be interval? Say I have selected 10 as a first number, serial number 10 as a first meter. So what will be my next meter? Are you getting my problem statement? There is a population area of 1,000 population. There are 5,000 water meters. Okay. And after doing all these calculations, we came to the conclusion that out of that 5,000, we will go and physically check 50 meters, 50 water meters, whether they are faulty or working fine. Okay. So now, how the systematic sampling works. First, for 5,000 population, we will choose the 50 meters. So how this 50 meters we will choose is, first meter we will choose randomly, and then see we have a list. So first we will choose randomly, say, and then based on the required meter, we will just select every ith atom. So what will be I for this population?
I should be 100 or
I should be 100. So if I have selected first meter as serial number 10, so my second meter will be 110.
yes, ma'am.
Likewise, we will select the 50 meters from the list. We'll select the 50 meters from the list and we'll go and physically check that 50 meters. And then we'll use that survey for final calculations. Okay. So now this is the systematic sampling. In systematic sampling, what is done is we are going to select every ith atom on the list, and the sampling of this type is known as a systematic sampling. And in this case, our first element is selected randomly and remaining elements by the systematic way. The advantages of this method is it can be taken as an improvement over a simple random sample. And in as much as systematic sample is spread over evenly over the entire population. It is an easier and less costlier method of sampling, and it can be conveniently used even in case of large populations. So these are advantages of the systematic sampling. Now, disadvantage of the sampling is if there is a hidden periodicity in the population. If there is any hidden periodicity in the population, systematic sampling will prove to be an inefficient method of sampling. If there is a periodicity, hidden periodicity, you don't know what is the periodicity. If there is any kind of a hidden periodicity in the population, then this sampling fails, or it will prove an inefficient method of the sampling. So in practice, systematic sampling is used when list of population are available and they are of considerable length. So practically, this kind of an sampling is used when a list is available, or a list of population is available, and they are of considerable length, or you can say that they are long. Now, another method, that is stratified sampling. See, what is this? If a population from which a sample is to be drawn does not constitute a homogeneous group, it is not a homogeneous group, stratified sampling technique is generally applied in order to obtain a representative sample. Under stratified sampling, the population is divided into several subpopulations, which are individually more homogeneous than the total population. Like in our example, we have divided our population into two subpopulations, like industrial area and the residential area. So we will apply different strategy for industrial one and different for the residential one. But what should be the number of meters we should select from industrial, and what should be the number of meters we should select from residential, that will be depend on the population, or that will be depend on the characteristics, homogeneousness of that group, subgroup. So we call industrial population as one strata and residential population as another strata. So at higher level, first we will do stratified sampling, and under that stratified sampling, then we can go for systematic sampling or some other types. So this is what is the stratified sampling. The whole population is based on its similar characteristics or something similar like homogeneousness can be determined, and based on that the population is divided into subpopulations or groups. We call them as a strata, and then we select atom from each strata to constitute a sample. So this type of a methodology or this way, it's called as a stratified sampling. How to form strata? So it is based on the common characteristics. So how should atoms can be selected from each stratum? You can use simple random sampling or a systematic sampling. How many atoms can be selected from each stratum, or how to allocate the sample size of each stratum? So by the method of proportional allocation, under which the size of the samples from the different strata are kept proportional to the size of the strata. Obviously, this is the simple logic, like proportional allocation. From the different strata proportional to the strata. Say, in our case, say we have a population of residential population, and so
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes, 25 lakhs as a 5 lakhs. Am I audible?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, your voice is not audible right now.
Okay. So we were at the point where how we can select how many atoms to be selected from each stratum, or how to allocate the sample size for each stratum. So it is based on, so here a method of proportional allocation is used. So we'll see one with one example that will be easier. So if Pi represent the proportion of population included in stratum I, and n represents the total sample size. The number of elements selected from stratum I is n into pi. So let us suppose that we want to select a sample size of 30 to be drawn from a population size of 8,000. So which is divided into three strata. So this size has 4,000, 2,400, and third strata is 1,600. So now how you will select? It's proportional allocation. Total sample we want to select is 30 and we have three strata. So for strata 1, say I want to select number of population of for the strata 1 is 4,000. For 2, population is 2,400 and population of the strata 3 is 1,600. And we want to select 30 samples from population of the 8,000. So now how does 30 samples we will allocate? How many samples for strata 1, how many samples for strata 2, and how many samples for strata 3? So total population of 8,000. We'll first calculate the proportion. What is the proportion of that strata with the total population? So for strata 1, this proportion is half. Half. So based on this proportion, we will select the samples. So say total sample size is 30 and proportion is half. So in this case, we'll select the half samples. So now similarly for strata 2, population size of the strata 2 is 2,400. So now the proportion comes 2,400 divided by 8,000. So what is the number of samples that we will select? So this proportion multiplied by the total samples. 30 into this proportion. So it comes as a 9. Similarly, for strata 3, it comes as a 6. So this is how stratified sampling works. I want you to note down this example and try to resolve yourself. Again, I'll give you 2 minutes. Please note down this example and try to resolve it with me. Then you will understand.
Ma'am, what is real-time example of strata sampling?
The real-time example just now we discussed. In that case, the uh, faulty water meter example is real time, where we will choose, obviously we'll choose more number of meters from residential where more population is there, and we'll choose less number of meters from the industrial one where less population is there. So that is a example of stratified sample. Please note down this.
Madam, capital N is 8,000, that is total sample size?
Yes, that is total sample size.
Okay.
Let me know once it is completed.
Yes, done, ma'am.
It's done for all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now, in case the purpose happens to be to compare the differences among the strata, then equal sample selection from each stratum would be more efficient even if the strata differs in size. In case where strata differs not only in size but also in variability, and it is considered reasonable to take larger samples from the more variable strata and the smaller samples from the less variable strata. So we can then account for both difference in stratum size and difference in stratum variabilities. So both can be considered in that case by using disappropriate sample design. So how this variability can be defined here is by using standard deviations of the strata. Like here now we are moving one step ahead. Not only the size, sample size, but also we are also looking for variabilities. If there is more variabilities, we want to select more number of samples. If less variability, we want to go for the less number of samples. So that's why in this case, in this example or in this formulation, the next methodology, uh, we have included one more method or one more mathematical complication, that is a standard deviation. So we are looking for the standard deviation of the particular strata and then applying our number of, and then we are calculating the sample size for each strata. So in this case, the sample size would be, or it would be n1 upon capital N1 S1 is equals to n2 upon n2 S2. So all the proportions should be same. So this is called optimum allocation in context of the disappropriate sampling. So the allocation in such a situation results in the following formula. So from this itself, we have derived this formula. So you can note down this formula. Ni is a number of sample for but ith stratum, which is nothing but small n into capital Ni. Sigma is nothing but your standard deviation, sigma I upon all, n1 sigma 1 plus n2 sigma 2 up to nk sigma k. In when for a stratum goes for I is used representation for stratum. So strata goes from 1 to k. So this is the formula which is used for adding one more complexity, that is a standard deviation, where you can use a kind of a variability also within the strata. Please note down this formula. I hope it is done. So let us take example for this. Example says that population is divided into 3 strata. N1 is 5,000, N2 is 2,000, and N3 is 3,000. And respective standard deviations are also given. That is S1 is 15, S2 is 18, and S3 is 5. So how should a sample size of, total sample size is 84, and we have to calculate how this 84 can be allocated to this 3 strata. So can you solve this sample design, sample example? I want all of you to solve this sample design example.